So let's get straight into kind of the games and our initial impressions of what happened in week 4. Bobby, we're going to start with you. Which game really jumped off the page from you? You can start all the way back at Thursday if you'd like to.
I want to throw some, attention towards Josh Dobbs. Like, he's surprisingly good. Like, I don't think anybody's talking about Josh Dobbs, who single-handedly had the best game than any other quarterback. Matthew Stafford, Daniel Jones, Kenny Pickett, guys who are first-round picks. He had the best game against that 49ers defense. And honestly, everyone just keeps talking about Kyler Murray's coming back. And honestly, the way Josh Dobbs has played, do we even freaking care? Like, he's the perfect kind of, placeholder quarterback for a team that's probably not looking to win that much anyway. But look at way Michael Wilson is developing. Look at the way Marquise Brown has played. Look at even Zach Ertz coming off ACL. Like, all these guys are performing very well with Dobbs. Yeah. And the other thing with Dobbs, too, is his numbers don't even show how good he was. He threw a dime in the corner of the end zone that was right off the hands of his receiver. He should have had 3 touchdowns in that game against the 49ers. He's playing out of his mind. And honestly, I don't think enough people talk about it. So I want to throw some shout outs to Josh Dobbs. I think
amen, Bobby LaMarco. Amen. Aerospace engineering major at the University of Tennessee, Josh Dobbs.
Borderline or certified genius. Hard to say.
Yeah, loves to play chess on the sidelines when he's not getting reps. I love Josh Dobbs's alopecia look, too. Really looks very aerodynamic for Josh. Nate, what really stood out to you here in week 4?
Sam Howell.
Yeah, baby.
Sam Howell.
Give me all that. Golf claps.
Almost leads the Commanders to a victory against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know what more you want from this kid. We were all just kind of shitting on him before the season started. Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter by week 4 or week 5. And
that is not on this podcast, sir.
No. There were points where I was concerned about Sam Howell, but then I remembered he was the consensus QB1 in this class that he'd come out a year early. He stayed in school a year longer. He kind of lost some of that draft capital. 3 QB 14 or better finishes this season out of Howell. A guy that we thought was going to be at best QB 26, 27, 28. He's in command of an offense and a team that, really, they look so much better than they looked last season. They look like a cohesive unit. You can question Riverboat Ron not going for 2 to win the game instead of sending it to overtime. But this is a team that's playing differently. And I think Howell's part of that, man. And like guys like Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, I'm excited about these guys in fantasy again because of what Sam Howell's doing. And I think it's being overlooked. People are saying, well, it's a division. It was a division game. Of course they played him tough, but Howell's playing well. And if you look at the next 5 games, they got Chicago at home next week. Then they travel to Atlanta. Then they've got the Giants at, I guess it's MetLife now. I wanted to call it Meadowlands. Then they've got Philly at home, who they almost beat in Philadelphia. And then they're at New England, who isn't playing particularly well. This is a 5-game stretch where we could see Sam Howell as a QB1 over these next 5 games. And I don't know why nobody's talking about it.
Yep. We are a big Sam Howell podcast here, hailing from North Carolina. At least 2/3 of us still live here. Coulter, did you have something that you noticed from Atlanta that tickled you right where you itch?
Well, I worked this Sunday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I watched virtually no football. I did go back and watch a lot of highlights. Looked at all the box scores and listened to some podcasts. But I can tell you one thing that jumped out is Justin Fields is back. Right, I think that's it's kind of a low-hanging fruit, but we got to at least talk about it because he's been abysmal the first 3 weeks of the year. Now he threw for 335 yards, so he only had 4 carries for 25 yards. So this huge fantasy outing wasn't predicated on design rushes and just scrambling. It was him as a pat. Now, granted, the Broncos defense is like a shell of itself of what we expected, but Fields 28 of 35, 4 touchdowns. And he put the ball where it mattered in DJ Moore's hands, even in like the overpaid Cole Kmet's hands. Those guys racked up the stat sheet. Moore he had 8 catches on 9 targets, 131 yards, a touchdown. Kmet 7 catches on 9 targets, 85 yards, and they got the running game going too. Khalil Herbert 18 carries, 103 yards. The offense just opened up. I think they found their identity a little bit this week. I saw Fields dropped in a couple of redraft leagues, and I scooped him up immediately. And I started him over the likes of Joe Burrow and CJ Stroud this week.
They also, the Bears they relieved themselves of a malignant tumor in Chase Claypool, telling his sorry ass to stay home after they traded a first-round draft pick for him. AJ, right. AJ, what stood out to you in week 4?
Well, first of all, I was super proud of Chase Claypool and his representation of the University of Notre Dame and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Super proud to see him continue to do his grim works. I want to shout out the Los Angeles Chargers. This one's for you, baby Colt. Winning in spite of Brandon Staley and his great thoughts. Almost giving that away. Very, very close to giving it away. So kudos to Justin Herbert, God, and the rest of the Chargers team for winning in spite of their coach. And I'm so sorry you guys have to deal with that. Prayers.
And Kellen Moore, thank you for saving the offense.
Yes. We're taking shots in Los Angeles with veterinarians on the sidelines in case we get boo-boos. For me, I think the 49ers solidified themselves as the best team in football. And they've done so throughout the course of the season. And I know it was the Cardinals, a very game Cardinals that hammered the Cowboys last week. And the thing that strikes me so much about the 49ers is how multiple they are on offense. They have 6 different dudes that can rip your guts out, and they make it look so easy, and they don't ask Brock Purdy to do more than he's capable of doing, but he's really good at doing what he's really good at, as evidenced by his stat line. He only threw 1 incompletion. And of course, having Christian McCaffrey back there. I was always a big don't draft Christian McCaffrey in fantasy football because he's bound to get demolished. Well, I drafted him in 2 leagues this year because of that.
Great.
I think the 49ers are the cream of the crop right now. Also, Josh Allen played a perfect game to beat what may have been what is the most exciting team in football currently.
That's a tough call. Like, most exciting, huh?
Dude, the Dolphins are. They only scored 70 points.
I thought you said the Bills. I thought you said the Bills, bud.
No. The Bills beat the most exciting team in football. Yeah. Do we have a specific game that stands out to any one of us? There are a couple of just flat out stinkers out there.
I want to throw out I want to throw out Zach Wilson. Like,
me too. Yeah.
Yeah. He so with Zach Wilson, it was so bad. And now we compare Zach Wilson to Zach Wilson, which makes anybody look good. But he looked the part for the first time as a professional. And I know they were talking about it a bunch on the broadcast, and this is an easy, like a layup to say, but like if you were watching the game, he just trusted his throws. Like he was like, the guy's not open, I don't care, I'm throwing it to his back shoulder. Like he was making multiple throws like that. No. And to be honest with you, the best part is he did it against a pretty good defense in the Chiefs, but now he gets Denver. So now, if Denver's as bad as they looked, if Denver's
they're as bad as they look.
If they are as bad as they look, that's only going to allow him to build off that game. And if he has another strong performance, like I know I'm a big fan. I think Garrett Wilson, the buy low window is today. Like you got to go. If Zach Wilson actually plays this well, Garrett Wilson's going to take off. I think that's why Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm going to be the quickest return from Achilles injury ever. Because he's like, oh, shit, this kid's actually playing decent now. I got to get back so I can get this job back. But granted, that's not actually a thing. But I got to shout out Zach Wilson. If he plays like this and he builds off this performance, he could have a huge week this week against them.
Man, I 100% thank you for that, because my dad went to bed when it started to look like it was going to get ugly, and I kind of stuck it out. And I was super impressed from where he came in the ball game in week 1 against the Bills to what he looks like now. It's night and day. It's absolute night and day. I don't know if it's a sustainable thing. I don't know if it was a one night thing against the Chiefs, but he looked comfortable. Like Bobby said, he looked decisive. He is always throughout the course of his NFL career, let a ball go or 2 in a game, and you just think, that's it. That's why. That's why they took him at 2 right there, that ball. Mm-hmm. And he did that over and over and over again on Sunday night, and it was super impressive.
Well, he made some of those throws where it's like we've been waiting to see that Zach Wilson more than once a game. like you were saying, Ryan, that's why he went number 2 overall. But he put together strings of that throughout that game. I'm excited to see what he does. I mean, as much as it pains me as a Denverite and a lifelong Broncos fan, his defense stinks. And if he can't play well against him, we know it was a one-time thing. If he plays well against Denver, then let's keep seeing what this kid can do. There's a reason they took him 2nd overall.
Yep.
It hasn't panned out this far, but it's not like he's Josh Rosen, right? He's far more talented than he can play. So
he's a good enough athlete. He can play, and he has that Denver defense, as we have said. Looked him up, a little statistical fortification here. Obviously, last in points given up per game because they, got 70 hung on them. Dead last in yards, total yards per game, second to last in passing yards per game, and second to last in, or I believe last in rush yards per game because they did give up 350 on the ground to Miami.
Were you guys aware that Juwan Taylor was allotted 2 points by the NFL to give away at his discretion in each game? Were you guys aware of this fact?
No.
I really appreciate it. It's real charity from the league that we hold so dear.
Yeah.
Is that part of the script or what?
No, Juwan Taylor, as a result of his face mask penalty in the end zone, is what gave the Jets their 2 points and their safety.
Yes.
Gave him a little life. A little life. Thank you, Juwan.
Might have saved Zach's career right there.
The whole Juwan Taylor saga is incredible. I just love watching him line up halfway, half the distance to the goal line every time. It's tremendous.
I don't know if we're ready to change topics, but I got to talk about the Giants.
Please, yeah.
Then we have to.
Man, they're tough.
Sorry. Yeah.
In a bad way.
As a Giants fan watching the game, it infuriates me because the Seattle Seahawks were a great baseline to watch what happens when your offensive lines are very banged up. If you watch that game, Seattle would have maybe 2 tight ends in the backfield to help protect the quarterback because they trusted that DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN is going to get open. They don't need 5 guys out into a pattern. Now, I get it. The Giants don't have that. They have Waller, Hyatt, Wandell looked a little good last night, but they kept saying, we're just going to have these 5 offensive line block. And then 2 seconds into the drop back, he gets hit. And it kept happening over and over and over again. And I'm sorry, I love Brian Daboll, but you got to take some ownership here and say, hey, our offensive line sucks. We have too many injuries. No. We don't have the good quality backups. We need to start getting creative with our blocking scheme to keep this kid upright because the Seattle Seahawks are doing it. We saw the Chicago Bears do it this week when they got him, Justin Fields, outside the pocket a little bit more. But you're watching it, and listen, Daniel Jones sucked. He did not look good either. He made a lot of bonehead plays, and I understand that. But how many times, we're just regular fans. These guys are professionals. This is Brian Daboll's offense. How do you sit there, if I could see it, at halftime and go, you know what? I think our 5 offensive linemen got this. We're good. We're going to be fine. No adjustments at all. Nothing. And it's no wonder why he sucked. Unless they make a change with this blocking scheme, it's going to be a disaster.
Well, I don't understand why aren't they using Daniel Bellinger more? He's a really good blocking tight end. Mm-hmm. He should be out there as a 6th offensive lineman on pretty much
line him up at H-back. Line him up at H-back and let him go to whatever side your offensive line fucks up on. Do you see Evan Neal block Darren Waller in the back and then drive him into the turf, mistaking him for the opponent?
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
And Evan Neal's supposed to be good.
He was a first-round draft pick. Yeah,
I'm well aware.
The most annoying part was watching the Seattle Seahawks do these things in the same game. At no point did they go, that's working for them. Maybe we should try this. They had, like you just said, put Daniel Bellinger at H-back. They literally had Noah Fant line up in front, right behind the guard at some points to help him block. And then they ran a pass play out of it later, and he got a huge gain. What are we doing? What is going on? It's not working. I can't. It's just too much, man. But yeah.
Yeah. Regression to the mean. They won more games than they should have last year. Them and the Vikings, they are back to you got to fall back. You got to fall back.
Bobby, Try being a Broncos fan and watching Marvin Mims run 3 routes a game and leading the team in receiving yards.
I love it. Well, it's like Jalen Hyatt. They just decided this week, they decided, all right, Wandale and Jalen Hyatt, you're in. And I love that. It's so great. You're so innovative, Brian.
Jalen Hyatt's so talented.
I know. Do it with the offensive line now. Figure something out. You're too good of a coordinator, like, to fuck this up. Like, come on, man. Like, let's get it going. Whatever. It's like watching Justin Fields a couple weeks ago. They literally did 5 and 7 step drops with Justin Fields. And I'm like, what is this? Of course he sucks. Of course he sucks. Like, Justin Fields is not a good pocket passer. He was like the best out of pocket passer last year. They're like, you know what? Let's keep him in the pocket for the first 2 weeks.
We're just going to let him stand there.
It reminded me of last year when they plugged him in and ran the Andy Dalton offense with him, and he was horrible. It's like a regression this year. Like, they're doing the same thing to start the year. Like, what?
Well, it's the hubris of these coaches who come in here and they're like, I can make this guy learn my offense. I'm so good at coaching. I can teach anyone you can't. No. Plain and simple. Were you gonna go in to Atlanta and make Michael Vick a pocket passer and be like, you don't stray from the pocket anymore? You're a guy who sticks between the tackles. There's no way in hell you're gonna do that. Said Josh McDaniel to Tim Tebow.
Dude, wild. I am. Here's my hottest take I'll have on the entire show. If someone went all in on Tim Tebow's offensive skill sets, they would have been a winning football team.
Yes.
100%. If you watch that Broncos team that year, the only thing that bailed them out was Peyton Manning becoming a free agent. If they had to go back into the Tim Tebow, but the guy won a playoff game. How many guys take a 4-7 football team, whatever they were, brings them to the playoffs, wins a playoff game, and then gets blown out by the Patriots, and then they lose their job and never get a starting job ever again, really? It's like, I think he could be, but you're dead on about it. Like, coaches love to just jam like a square peg into a round hole and say it's the player's fault.
Well, and this is why I really think I wish college coaches did better in the NFL, because from a scheme perspective, they understand how to tailor an offense to a recruit they brought in. Unfortunately, they're just not good at dealing with adults for the most part. They don't understand how to deal with a room full of men versus a room full of boys. Yeah. But you see college coaches do that all the time. Nick Saban, how many times has Nick Saban done it?
He's gone tailor what you've got. They're back to 2013 in Alabama this year because Jalen Milroe, that's what he is.
Yep.
But in the NFL, I'm a big fan of huge brain, dumbass coaches. You look at the young coaches that have done well. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel to a lesser extent, only because it's only been doing it for a year and a quarter, right? We'll see if he can continue to tailor that offense. He's obviously got the most speed in the NFL. But Sean McVay tailored his offense. Kyle Shanahan may be the best in the league right now outside of a man named Reed at tailoring his offense to what he's got. Of course, Andy Reid also has the best quarterback in football too. So that's one thing that maybe Brandon Staley doesn't understand. That's what drives me so crazy about Brandon Staley is he's trying to force his stuff instead of looking at what is there. Say we have Kenneth Murray and we have Derwin James and we have a Sunday Samuel Jr. and we have one of the Boses.
That was one of the most frustrating things as a Broncos fan during the Drew Lock years, because it's like you could see what he did well. He did well in chaos and getting outside of the pocket and running no huddle, which is what Carroll mostly did with him last night. It was chaos. He got outside of the pocket and they ran no huddle a lot. Pat Shurmur refused to do it. It's like, no, Drew Lock's going to be a pocket quarterback. He's going to be a pocket passer. It's just not the type of quarterback he is. He was never going to be successful. He never had a chance. It's interesting. As someone who has coached sports, you play to your team's strengths. How is it someone who the extent of my coaching knowledge is 8th grade Little League baseball knows you play to your team's strengths. You don't try and force them to do what you think needs to be done.
Speaking of our guy, Drew Lock, when Geno Smith went down last night for a little bit, Drew Lock looked all right. He looked all right. He looked great in the preseason too. Before we move on, we got to talk CJ Stroud and what he's doing in Houston. That kid. I think a lot of people expected him to be the most pro ready, out of the box, ready to go guy. I had my reservations because of the Ohio State system quarterback situation. But Good God, he's good, and he's been really impressive. The Texans team, fun and frisky, not good, but fun and frisky.
But he's playing at a Pro Bowl level already.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
Stroud seemed like the most NFL ready QB in this class to me from the jump. I thought he should have been the first pick over Bryce Young.
I did too.
I'm not surprised, honestly, and I'm loving seeing him click with Tank Dell. It made sense that Nico Collins was going to get something done, and the fact that he's throwing the ball right, and the fact that he's throwing the ball 40 times a game, that tracks to me because that running attack. I mean, it's Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary.
Yeah, buddy.
There's nothing to be excited about there, so
that touchdown to Nico Collins. That was a beautiful ball. The placement hit him in
CJ Stroud he's got the arm, he's got the poise, he's got the mentality, he's got the locker room presence, he has the accuracy. He just has that football brain. And dude, this Texans team, if they don't ruin him like they did Deshaun Watson, I think he's going to have a really long, fantastic career as probably a guy we're talking about top 5 quarterback the next couple of seasons.
I agree with that. The culture shift in Houston with DeMeco Ryans has happened faster than I think anybody could have anticipated.
Well, that's how I feel about Washington too.
Yeah,
same
thing. Like a team that wants to play. They want to play, and they want to play hard, and they know where they're at. They're right size. They know where they are as a franchise, and they're okay with that. And they're just trying to improve. Love that mindset from a football team outside of a team like the Bears, who have no idea what they are, think they're good.
The Broncos,
they're obviously not. Yeah, the Broncos are there as well. For Nate, who still is a starting quarterback for their team next year, is it Russell Wilson or Justin Fields?
Russell Wilson will still be the starter in Denver. I don't know that Justin Fields is still going to be the starter in Chicago.
Might not. This past week may have been the Bears' best opportunity to get a win.
Probably was. 1-16 Chicago Bears.
Let's go. Top 2 picks in the NFL draft. All right. AJ looking like we're ready to move on. Anybody have any last final words about week 4?
One final honorable mention. Tampa Bay is much better than I thought.
Ooh, yeah. Did you hear Baker Mayfield tell Chris Godwin he got a boner when he saw the man coverage?
I did not. But
yeah, he said his dick got hard.
All right.
Baker's been playing pretty well, and their Bucs are 3-1.
Yeah, good for Baker Mayfield. He's a good dude. I've interviewed him a couple times. He's a good dude. Like to see him do well.